The unexpected guardian. Corporal Finley Reeves hated diplomatic duty. 3 weeks stationed at the Zephyrian embassy on Callisto Outpost had taught him exactly two things: alien architecture made no logical sense, and ceremonial armor chafed in places he didn't want to discuss. The rotating gravity rings of the outpost created a disorienting effect that still made his stomach lurch after all this time. Finley stood at his post in the western atrium, watching dignitaries from 17 systems glide through the crystalline halls. The Zephyrians, tall, luminous beings with skin that shifted colors like living opals, moved with fluid grace that made humans look ungainly by comparison. They spoke in musical tones that the universal translator sometimes struggled to capture, leaving conversations punctuated with untranslatable chirps and melodic flourishes. "Enjoying the view, Corporal?" Lieutenant Darius smirked as he passed, nodding toward a group of Zephyrian nobles whose robes floated as if underwater. "Just counting the minutes until rotation," Finley replied, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. His reflection in the polished floor showed a man trying too hard to look important: standard issue formal blues, regulation haircut, and the rigid posture of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. The tranquility of the evening shattered without warning. The first tremor rippled through the floor like a wave. Finley's training kicked in before his mind fully registered the danger. The second blast hit harder, not sound, but pressure, a vacuum pull followed by a concussive punch that sent decorative water sculptures exploding into deadly shards. "Evacuation protocol!" Lieutenant Darius shouted, already sprinting toward the ambassador's quarters. Alarms wailed in 3 different harmonies: human, Zephyrian, and something mechanical that scraped against Finley's eardrums. The crowd became chaos. Dignitaries scattered, some running, others frozen in shock. Security personnel emerged from hidden alcoves, their weapons drawn. Finley moved with purpose toward the evacuation zone when something caught his eye, a flash of pale blue disappearing down a restricted corridor. He hesitated only for a moment before breaking protocol and following. The hallway narrowed, its luminescent walls flickering and dimming as the embassy's power systems faltered. Small maintenance drones scuttled past him in panic, their programming confused by the emergency. A soft whimpering led him to a small alcove where environmental controls had created a pocket of mist. Huddled within was a small figure, definitely Zephyrian but much younger than any Finley had seen before. A child, he realized with a start. Her skin pulsed between fearful white and distressed violet, and the delicate crystalline structures that grew naturally from Zephyrian temples had cracked on one side. "Hey there," Finley said, crouching slowly. "I'm Corporal Reeves. Are you hurt?" The child's 6-fingered hands clutched a small communication device that projected broken holographic symbols. Her large, pupilless eyes regarded him with terror. "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help." He extended his hand slowly. The young Zephyrian's skin flashed crimson, danger, fear, before she bolted past him with surprising speed. Finley cursed under his breath and followed. Another explosion rocked the embassy, closer this time. Support beams groaned, and the artificial gravity fluctuated, momentarily sending them both floating inches above the floor. The child screamed, a sound like breaking crystal, as she tumbled through the air. Finley pushed off a wall and caught her mid-flight, tucking her safely against his chest as gravity reasserted itself with a violent jolt. "I've got you," he murmured, though he doubted she understood. "Let's get out of here." The main evacuation routes were blocked by debris. Security protocols had sealed emergency bulkheads, trapping them in a rapidly destabilizing section of the embassy. Finley's comm unit crackled with fragmented emergency broadcasts. "This is Corporal Reeves," he reported. "I found a Zephyrian child. Requesting evacuation assistance in Section 7B. Only static answered. The little alien trembled against him, her skin now a muted blue that seemed to indicate resignation. "Okay, Plan B," Finley muttered, scanning the corridor. "Let's find our own way out." He remembered the maintenance tunnels, narrow passages that ran between the embassy's ornate walls, allowing service drones to move unseen. Not designed for humans, but possibly their only option. He located an access panel and pried it open. "It'll be tight, but we can make it," he told the child, who stared at him with unblinking eyes. "I need you to hold on to me, okay?" She didn't respond, but when he gestured for her to climb onto his back, she understood, wrapping slender arms around his neck. Her touch was cool, like morning mist against his skin. The maintenance tunnel was claustrophobic, a tube barely wide enough for Finley's shoulders, illuminated by bioluminescent strips that pulsed in patterns he couldn't decipher. He crawled forward, aware of the precious cargo on his back and the increasingly violent tremors that suggested the embassy wouldn't remain standing much longer. Almost there, he encouraged, though he had no idea if that was true. The tunnel branched repeatedly, and he made decisions based on instinct rather than knowledge. After what felt like hours but couldn't have been more than 15 minutes, they emerged into a small docking bay where emergency shuttles waited. Most were gone, already launched with evacuees, but one remained, its hatch open. Finley stumbled toward it, the Zephyrian child still clinging to his back. His lungs burned from the exertion and from smoke that had begun filtering through the ventilation systems. The shuttle's interior was designed for Zephyrian physiology, seats too angular, controls placed at odd intervals, but it was functional. Finley placed the child in a seat and fumbled with the unfamiliar restraints. "Hold tight," he said, sliding into the pilot's position. "I'm not exactly certified on alien craft, but I'm a quick study." The launch sequence was mercifully intuitive, or perhaps the shuttle's AI recognized the emergency. As they detached from the docking clamps, Finley caught a glimpse of the embassy through the viewport, half collapsed, fires bleeding through shattered windows, security vessels circling like anxious insects. Only when they were safely in orbit, the automated systems plotting a course to the nearest emergency rendezvous point, did Finley turn his attention fully to his passenger. The child had curled into herself, skin now a deep indigo that he couldn't interpret. "You're safe now," he said, offering what he hoped was a reassuring smile. "My name is Finley. What's yours?" She didn't answer, but her hand reached out hesitantly and touched his uniform where his name badge sat. Tiny fingers traced the letters before she pointed to herself. "Nylaria," she said in a voice like wind through crystal. "I am Nylaria." Finley nodded, something about her manner striking him as odd. The quality of her robes, the intricate patterns and the crystalline growth at her temples. "Nylaria," he repeated. "Nice to meet you. We'll find your family soon." Her skin rippled with a pattern he hadn't seen before, lines of gold and silver tracing complex symbols across the blue. "No family," she said simply. "Only Mother Empress." The realization hit Finley like another explosion. This wasn't just any Zephyrian child. The embassy had been hosting the royal family. Which meant, "You're the princess," he whispered, suddenly understanding the gravity of his accidental rescue. Nylaria's skin brightened slightly. "You saved me." "Why?" The question caught him off guard. "Because you needed help. That's what we do. Humans help strangers." Her head tilted with curiosity. "The good ones try to," Finley said, wondering what exactly he'd gotten himself into. The shuttle's communication system chimed, indicating an incoming transmission. Someone had noticed their unauthorized departure. The console displayed a message in Zephyrian script that rearranged itself into English: "Identify occupants and purpose." Finley took a deep breath before responding. "This is Corporal Finley Reeves, Human Diplomatic Corps. I have Princess Nylaria aboard. Requesting safe harbor and immediate audience with Zephyrian authorities." There was a long pause before the response came: "Coordinates transmitted. Approach vector locked. The Empress awaits." Nylaria's skin pulsed with golden light, and for the first time, she smiled, revealing teeth like tiny diamonds. "Mother will reward you, human Finley." "I was just doing my job," he said automatically. "No," the princess replied with surprising wisdom. "Your job was to stand and watch. You chose to act. Among my people, choice defines honor. As the shuttle adjusted course toward whatever destiny awaited them, Finley couldn't help but wonder if saving this alien child had changed his fate forever. The answer, waiting beyond the stars, would prove far more complex than he could imagine. Flight through the stars. The shuttle hummed with unfamiliar energy as it sliced through the void between worlds. Finley examined the control console, recognizing enough symbols to understand they were heading toward the Zephyrian Royal Fleet, currently stationed near Jupiter's orbit. Proximity alerts chimed softly every few minutes, warning of debris from the embassy attack scattered across their path. Nylaria had moved from her seat to stand beside him, her small form barely reaching his elbow. Her skin had settled into a calm turquoise, with occasional ripples of silver when the shuttle encountered turbulence. You fly strangely, she observed, watching his hands navigate the controls. Human reflexes are different from Zephyrian, Finley explained, making minute adjustments as they passed through a field of embassy wreckage. We rely more on instinct, less on harmony. The princess considered this. Yet you saved me with harmony. Instinct would say save yourself first. Finley smiled. Maybe humans and Zephyrians aren't so different after all. A warning light flashed on the console, proximity alert, but this time not debris. Something was following them. Finley's military training kicked in as he accessed the shuttle's sensors. We've got company, he muttered, studying the readout. 3 vessels, smaller than their shuttle but moving faster, approaching from the sector where the embassy had been. Their configuration wasn't Zephyrian, nor was it any allied species Finley recognized. Nylaria's skin paled to a ghostly white. They found us. Who's found us? Finley asked, already plotting evasive maneuvers. The ones who destroyed our peace. Her voice trembled like wind chimes in a storm. The Krevlaks. They hate the alliance between humans and Zephyrians. Finley had heard rumors of the Krevlaks, a splinter faction that opposed interspecies cooperation, believing it diluted cultural purity. Until now, they'd been little more than a political irritation, making bold statements but avoiding direct action. Hold on, he warned, engaging the shuttle's emergency thrust. The vessel lurched forward, straining against its own design parameters. Finley had trained on human vessels, which emphasized maneuverability over comfort. Zephyrian craft prioritized harmony with celestial bodies, efficient for scheduled travel but less ideal for combat evasion. The pursuing ships fired their first volley, energy pulses that dissipated against the shuttle's shields but caused the entire craft to shudder. Can you send a distress signal to your mother's fleet? Finley asked, banking the shuttle sharply around a floating piece of embassy superstructure. Nylaria placed her 6-fingered hand on the communication panel. The console responded to her touch, illuminating with patterns that flowed like water. I have signaled, but they are far. The Krevlaks disrupt communications. Another blast rocked the shuttle, this one penetrating the outer shield layer. Warning lights flashed across the console as life support systems diverted power to maintain cabin pressure. We need somewhere to hide until help arrives, Finley said, scanning the navigation charts. His eyes settled on a nearby asteroid field, dense enough to provide cover but navigable with skill. Perfect. He angled the shuttle toward the field, pushing the engines beyond recommended limits. Behind them, the Krevlaks vessels adjusted course to follow. They're persistent, he muttered. They want the daughter of the Empress, Nylaria said matter-of-factly. A powerful bargaining tool. The first asteroids loomed ahead, jagged remnants of some ancient celestial collision. Finley slowed their approach, calculating trajectories while watching the pursuers in the rear sensors. Have you ever played hide-and-seek? He asked the princess. She blinked, confused. Is this a human battle strategy? Something like that. He smiled grimly. When I give the signal, hit that crystal button there, it should engage the electromagnetic dampeners. The princess nodded, positioning her hand over the indicated control. Finley guided the shuttle between two massive asteroids, then sharply downward relative to the galactic plane. The Krevlak's ships followed, firing sporadically as they maneuvered through the narrowing passages. "Now!" Finley called. Nylaria pressed the crystal. The shuttle's lights dimmed as energy signatures dropped to minimal levels. Momentum carried them into the shadow of a particularly large asteroid, where Finley killed the engines completely. They drifted, silent and dark, as the Krevlak's ship sped past their hiding spot. "Clever human," Nylaria whispered, her skin shimmering with impressed blue-green tones. "They cannot see us." "Not for long," Finley cautioned. "They'll double back once they realize they've lost us. We need a better plan." He studied the navigation charts, looking for options. The Royal Fleet was still hours away at their best speed. The nearest official outpost was similarly distant. But there, at the edge of the sensor range, a faint signal pulsed, an automated beacon. "What is that?" he asked, pointing to the signal. Nylaria leaned closer, her crystalline structures catching the dim emergency lighting. "Mining outpost. Abandoned when resources depleted. Emergency systems still function. Perfect. We can hide there, maybe find communications equipment that the Krevlaks aren't jamming." Finley reactivated the engines at minimal power, guiding the shuttle through the asteroid field on a circuitous route toward the abandoned outpost. They traveled in tense silence, every moment expecting to see the Krevlak's vessels reappear on sensors. Nylaria stood perfectly still beside Finley's seat, occasionally touching the communication panel as if hoping for a response from her mother's fleet. The abandoned mining outpost came into view, a collection of modular structures anchored to a mid-sized asteroid. Originally designed for extracting rare minerals, it now hung in space like a forgotten toy, its solar arrays still collecting energy even with no one to use it. "I'll dock manually," Finley said as they approached. "Don't want to risk sending automated signals they might detect." The docking procedure was delicate. Zephyrian technology interfacing with the outpost's universal connections required precise alignment. With gentle bursts from the maneuvering thrusters, Finley guided the shuttle into position. The docking clamps engaged with a satisfying metallic clunk that reverberated through the hull. "We should be safe here temporarily," he said, powering down all non-essential systems. "Let's see if we can get a clear signal out." They exited the shuttle into the outpost's main airlock. Emergency lighting activated at their presence, casting long shadows through corridors that had been empty for years. The air was stale but breathable, life support systems maintained at minimal levels by automated protocols. Nylaria moved with unexpected confidence through the abandoned structure. "These were designed by humans," she observed, running her fingers along a wall panel. "My tutors made me study your architectural principles." "Not exactly the palace you're used to, I imagine," Finley replied, checking corridor junctions for the communication center. "I find it functional," she said with diplomatic grace that seemed beyond her apparent years. "How old are you?" Finley asked, curiosity getting the better of him. "By your measurements, 17 cycles," she answered. "Still juvenile, but past primary education." Finley stopped short. "You're 17 Earth years old." She nodded, skin rippling with amusement. "Did you think me a child? My species matures slowly physically. Our crystalline structures take decades to fully form." She touched the broken crystal at her temple. "I am what you might call an adolescent." Finley felt himself redden with embarrassment. "I assumed, because of your size. We do not grow much taller," she explained. "Only our complexity increases." Their conversation was interrupted by a distant metallic groan, the outpost settling, or something else. Finley motioned for silence, drawing his standard-issue pulse pistol from its holster. "Stay behind me," he whispered, moving cautiously toward the communication center. The door was sealed, emergency protocols, but Nylaria placed her hand on the access panel. It recognized her royal biosignature, overriding the lockdown. The communication center was a semicircular room filled with dusty equipment. Finley moved quickly to the main console, wiping away years of disuse. "Can you operate this?" Nylaria asked. "Basic communications are universal by treaty," he replied, activating the system. "The question is whether we can broadcast without the Krevlax detecting us." He configured the comm array to send a tight beam transmission directly to the coordinates of the Royal Fleet. Better to risk a focused signal than a broad broadcast that would certainly be intercepted. "I need you to record a message," he told Nylaria. "Your mother's ships will respond faster to your voice than to mine." The princess straightened her posture, her skin shifting to royal purple as she prepared to speak. Finley activated the recorder. "Mother Empress, this is Nylaria. I am safe with human protector Finley Reeves. We escaped the embassy attack but are pursued by Krevlax vessels. We shelter at mining outpost Delta 7. Please." A massive impact shook the outpost, cutting off her words. The lights flickered as emergency systems registered a hull breach in a distant section. "They found us," Finley said, sending the partial message anyway. "We need to move." Another impact rocked the structure. Through the viewport, Finley could see a Krevlax vessel attaching itself to the outpost's exterior, mechanical arms extending to create a forced entry point. "The shuttle," Nylaria suggested. "We can detach." "They've probably disabled it already," Finley replied, mind racing through options. "This outpost has escape pods. That's our best chance." They ran through darkening corridors as the outpost systems failed one by one. Behind them, metallic screeching signaled the Krevlax cutting through barriers. Finley led them down a maintenance shaft toward the emergency evacuation bay, where single-occupant pods waited in their launch cradles. "These are designed for one person each," he explained, quickly activating 2 pods. "But they will track both," Nylaria pointed out. "They will follow you as well." Finley hesitated. "I'll program mine to launch on a decoy trajectory. You'll take the second pod directly toward your mother's fleet." "They will capture you," she protested, her skin flashing crimson with alarm. "Maybe. But you're the one they want," he countered, already inputting coordinates. "Your safety is what matters." The princess touched his arm, sending a strange tingling sensation through his uniform. "My people never forget those who serve with honor," Finley Reeves. The sound of approaching Krevlax grew louder, multiple sets of heavy footsteps and the whine of energy weapons charging. "No time for goodbyes," Finley said, helping her into the second pod. "Remember, stay on course no matter what you see happening to my pod." Nylaria's skin pulsed with determination as the pod sealed around her. Finley activated the launch sequence for both vessels, then dove into his own pod just as the first Krevlax rounded the corner. The pods ejected simultaneously, blasting away from the outpost in opposite directions. Through his viewport, Finley watched as the Krevlax ships hesitated, then split up, 2 pursuing Nylaria, 1 following him. "That's right," he muttered, activating the pod's defensive countermeasures. "Come after the annoying human." His pod spiraled away from the outpost, drawing the enemy vessel into pursuit. Behind him, he caught a glimpse of Nylaria's pod disappearing into the darkness of space, hopefully safe on its journey to the Royal Fleet. Now he just had to survive long enough for rescue to find him, if it ever came.